I didn't he argue when the HOA president pointed her finger at my sister and said she wasn't allowed to visit me anymore. I didn't explain that this was my property, or that her name was written into the deed as a legal heir. I didn't say a word at all. I just leaned back in my chair and let my sister place her military IE on the table, faced up under the fluorescent lights of the community center. The room went very quiet. The lawyer sitting to the president's right shifted uncomfortably. One of the board members coughed into his sleeve. My sister didn't raise a voice either. She just let the words on the card do the work. United States Armed Forces. Access authorized. The HOA's little charade froze right there. That was the exact moment I knew the war was over, though technically it hadn't even begun. The truth is, I never moved out here to fight anyone. I fixed up the place myself, replacing the porch rail, painting the shutters, slowly turning the backyard into something that felt like a sanctuary instead of a patch of suburban grid. It was supposed to be simple. I wasn't trying to join committees or organize block parties. I just wanted to live. But that simplicity never survives long when you're under an HOA's thumb. At first, it was a letter, just a note about my sister parking in the driveway when she came down to visit. Take a dead, unauthorized use of guest privileges. I thought it was a clerical mistake. I replied politely, explaining that she was family, and as such, not even subject to guest limits, under the bylaws I had read before buying. I got no response, but I assumed the matter was settled. Then came another letter. This one more aggressive. They claimed she was ONT recognized as a lawful household member and therefore needed pre-approval every time she came to stay. It was absurd. This was my house. The name on the deed was mine. My sister had every right to visit me as much as she pleased. The escalation was ridiculous. One afternoon she arrived after driving down from her base, still in uniform, and found her car booted in my own driveway. A bright orange sticker said HOA violation, unauthorized visitor. When I went to the office to demand an explanation, the president herself told me flatly that, military or not, rules are rules. I remember feeling a mix of disbelief and something colder, like a slow, creeping understanding that this wasn't just incompetence. They were testing boundaries. They wanted to see if I'd fold. I tried civility first. I wrote careful emails, citing their own bylaws back to them, quoting sections about family access and property rights. I sent copies of the county zoning records showing my driveway wasn't even under HOA jurisdiction. I asked for a meeting to clear the air. What I got instead were new notices taped to my door threatening fines, threats of towing, warnings that continued violations may result in liens. Neighbors stopped waving when they passed. The board was making me a target, and everyone knew it. My sister started hesitating to come visit. She didn't want to cause me trouble. That was the moment I shifted from disbelief to something far sharper. I stopped writing emails. I started reading case law. It's amazing what you can find if you stop letting anger do the steering and let patience handle it instead. I pulled my closing documents out of storage and reread every line. I dug into the subdivision's original charter, filed with the county decades ago. I requested copies of the HOA's own amendments and budgets. And then, late one night, I stumbled on something they must have assumed no one would ever bother to check. The subdivision sat on land that had once been designated under a federal military access corridor, and easement written into the title, still valid, still enforceable. It gave active duty personnel and their dependents unrestricted right of passage and visitation. In other words, my sister didn't just have the right to be on my property, she had the federal government backing her presence. The HOA had no say. None. From that point, every violation notice they left on my door went straight into a neat folder I kept on the desk. Every threat, every fine, every booted car. I photographed everything. I logged dates, times, names. I spent evenings on hold with county offices, getting the right clerks to dig up infrastructure records and confirm what I had found. My sister ever the professional, offered to bring an official liaison letter if needed, but I told her to hold off. The more rope they gave themselves, the harder the snapback would be. By the time the next board meeting came, I was prepared. They didn't know that, of course. They thought I was just another homeowner, showing up to beg forgiveness. They were already smirking when I walked in, and the president wasted no time in bringing up my violations. That's when my sister laid her ID on the table. No raised voices. No dramatic speeches. Just the silence that followed. Then I slid my folder forward, opened the page with the military corridor easement, highlighted in yellow. Their own lawyer leaned in, read the words, and immediately pushed back from the table. He knew. He didn't say it out loud, but his face said everything. They had been playing a game they had no authority to play. The fallout was quiet but decisive. The fines vanished overnight. The boots stopped appearing. Letters were retracted, and eventually, so were board members. The president resigned within 2 months, citing health reasons. I later learned she had been warned by the HOA insurance provider that continuing down her path could expose her personally to liability. Funny how quickly rules change when money is on the line. Now, things are different. My sister visits whenever she likes, and if she happens to park her car right in view of the board office, no one says a word. Some neighbors wave again. Others look away. Either reaction is fine with me. The quiet I wanted is back, not because I avoided conflict, but because I dragged the truth into the light and set it on the table where everyone could see it. And I'll tell you this. The look on that lawyer's face, the exact moment he realized the HOA had been meddling with federal jurisdiction, was worth every late night with dusty documents and every weekend spent poring over easements instead of fishing. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The law did all the yelling for me. Would you like me to expand this into the full 3,000-word version with even more detail like the exact documents, the emotional toll on family, and the slow unraveling of the HOA, or keep it at this length for now?